All right, thanks for joining us Fly Tying Tuesday with Fishing the Good Fight. Got one of our favorite patterns here for you today. This is Craven's Juju Baetis, one of the best mayfly imitations there is. When we think about our best mayflies we like to fish, especially on tailwater, it's this, Stalcups Baetis, RS2s, foamback emergers. It's not a long list. The reason we like this fly so much is it's very slim. There's not a lot of bulk to it. The super hair that we'll use lays flat, unlike, using some wire or other bulkier materials. We want a really slim, realistic profile here that trout are used to using. So we'll go ahead and get started today on the vise. We have a TMCO 2488. Thread we'll be using is Simperfly Nano 18-aught. Vivis 14-aught's fine too. We just need something that can lay flat and is nice and thin. So we'll go ahead and tie this on right behind the eye. Oop. Slippery stuff, sometimes it happens. So Simperfly takes a little used to. We haven't tied with it before. Now we're going to go ahead and take this down to the bend, making sure we keep everything really flat during the entire process of this fly. Next thing we're doing here is we're going to tie in our tail material. This is going to be mottled brown India hen is what we'll be using. So we've just grabbed one piece of it right here. We're going to grab a small clump. I don't know, say around 6 fibers. And we're going to pull them so that they are perpendicular, so that those tips are nice and aligned here. And get a bigger piece so I can show y'all. All right, so we've got a bigger piece here. So we're going to grab a clump and we're going to pull them so that they're nice. Those tips are nice and aligned. Now for the measurement, we want it to be about half the shank in length. It's about good. Now we're going to tie this in at the near side, anticipating that it'll roll over and lay flat on the hook shank, just right on top of the hook shank. We don't want it to the side. There we go. Now we're going to cover up the rest and work our way back up the hook. One wrap right butt up against the previous. And we'll cut the butt ends off here. Go ahead and flatten out my thread a little bit. Next thing we're doing is we're tying in our super hair. Super hair is a big reason a lot of people don't tie this and shy away from it. Takes some getting used to, takes some practice. Once you have it, it's easy, and you can knock out these flies really quickly, especially if you tie the bodies and then the thorax and head separately. You can knock out a ton of these guys. Just takes some getting used to and kind of mastering the super hair technique. So went ahead and grabbed a strand of chartreuse and a strand of black. That's what we're tying today because it's easier to see the segmentation with this color. So I've got 3 strands of super hair here. Before I grabbed these, once you pull them out, you want to treat it like leader or tip it to get the crinkles out of the super hair. So get it laying nice and straight and flat. So I've got these 3 strands. The order doesn't matter, but we are going to cut the tips even. We're going to tie these in on the far side. And then we're going to take this all the way back to right up against the tail. And then back up. We are going to build a small taper here to replicate that mayfly profile. Doesn't need to be much. That's about enough. You can see it's not much at all. So, all right, wrapping the super hair. This is where everyone gets messed up. So we're going to grab our 3 strands. Once again, order doesn't matter. We're going to come around the hook bend, so towards you. We're going to go straight up, not to the side. Straight up and straight down. This first wrap's crucial. Now, if you don't like that wrap, this one's fine, but you can come in with your fingernails and just push it back a little bit. So we'll redo that again. We're around the hook bend, pulling that towards the hook bend, straight up, straight down. Maintaining that order. Like I said, the order doesn't matter, but we do have to maintain that order as we're wrapping it, so you can't have it twisting on you. Now, if you ever have a wrap you don't like this one, just use your fingernail, push it back. You'll get to a point where you don't need to do this. Once you're really proficient with this stuff. But as you're learning, take your time. Push each wrap right against each other so that there's no underbody exposed. And just work your way up all the way to the hook point. Capture it. Cut this off close. And at this point, we're done with our white thread. So we're going to go ahead and whip finish this. And we're going to switch over to our black thread here for the thorax and the head. For this portion, we're going to be using black Vivus 14-aught, another one that lays down nice and flat, good strong thread. So we're going to tie this in just behind the high. And the hook point's really your kind of magic line here for everything. All right, so next thing we're going to do is tie in our flash. This is going to be medium opal tinsel. Grab a piece of this. And we're going to tie this in just right on top of that hook shank. Make sure it's perfectly centered here. I always like to take a look at it when I fold it over just to make sure that it's exactly centered how I like it. Next thing, we're going to tie in the legs. We're going to be using some gray Flora fiber. So we're going to use 8 or 10 strands here. We're not using 20. So take your time, count them out. Once you get those strands, just like the super hair, I like to lick this stuff. Just like the super hair, we're going to cut the ends, the tips, so they're nice and even. Once again, we're going to tie this right in on top of the shank. And then we're going to cover this up and work our way forward. Important point here that I think separates a lot of people tying a good or a bad Juju Baetis is making sure that your thread base for this thorax, so the bottom is even, it's not all lumpy. So next thing we're going to do here is we'll pull over this Flora fiber, capture it with a wrap. Making sure it's still nice and centered. And then we'll go one wrap right behind that one. At this point, I like to tighten up my thread a little bit, so I'll give it a clockwise spin. We're going to separate these legs, so 4 or 5 on each side. Next thing we'll do is we'll pull that near side towards us, and right behind that previous wrap, we're going to lock those legs in. Then we'll do it again on the far side. Now we'll bring over our flash. Capture it with the wrap. Oop, came off on me. Oop, it all came off. No big deal. That's why tightening your thread's helpful here. All right, so let's redo that real quick. One wrap, next wrap right behind it. Split your legs. Capture the near side. Capture the far side. Bring your flash over. Capture it. Now we're going to pull this flash back and wrap over it so it's nice and secure. We'll wet finish. And what you can see here is that with that kind of systematic approach to capturing those materials, one wrap right behind the other one, as we've built a little bit of a thread head here. It's nice and uniformed. Come in and cut this close. Cut our flash. Now I'm going to pull these wings out of the way, legs, for the UV. So we're going to be using Solarez UV hard thin, only UV we use, no tact, doesn't break down in water. There's so many bad UV resins out there. Use the Solarez. So now we're going to get a little UV up here. And we're not using a lot. We just want that teardrop shape. And we just want it on the top. We don't want any of this UV on the side or underneath the body. It's just a small coat on the top to make it a little more durable. That's what we want. So it's just a small coat from that thread head down to the tail, just on top. Nothing on the sides or bottom. Should taper as you go back. We'll go ahead and hit it with our light. Now I'll trim these wings and legs. Keep saying wings. So grab all of them together. We want this to be just slightly longer than the wing case. Push those guys down. And that's it. That is our finished Juju Baetis. Killer pattern. Crushes out here in Colorado. You can tie it in a variety of colors, sizes. We typically fish a 22. Really like the traditional Baetis color, which is 2 brown and 1 black. Love purple, red, olive. Can't really go wrong. Tie them up, get that super hair down, figure it out, take the time to practice it. Give us a shout if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.